To my fellow Doctors of Arknights, our favorite time of the year has returned because the Selector packs have returned to the market. You have the Standard Headhunting pack, which has all the newer units to choose from. Choose one of the units to enter your account, skip all the gacha, and it also comes together with 10 Standard Headhunting tickets. Then you have the Kernel Headhunting pack. That one contains the operators from year 0 to year 3. It doesn't only give you 10 Standard Headhunting tickets, it's also got 10 Kernel Headhunting tickets, the blue ticket. So a little bit more worth for your money, the both at 30 USD. Which one should you be buying? It depends on what operator you are looking for. But which operators are worth for you to choose? That's what we'll talk about in this video. I do need to inform you guys that I've done this selected ticket video for quite a while now, telling people which operators are the best to choose. So I kind of don't always want to rehash the same things that I do. I'm going to do this video in a different format from those older videos. So let me show you how it's going to go. Before we take a look at the packs, I know some of you will be saying I'm free to play, I'm watching this video for fun, I haven't been able to pay all that much in this game because the packs are really expensive. Well, how about we introduce you a cheaper way to buy the packs in Arknights, and that is using Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a top-up site that you can use to buy all sorts of in-game items, not only from Arknights but also the other games as well. These prices shown here will change according to the country that you live in. For me, I'm in Singapore, and you can see that it's about 10% off all sorts of various packs, including the Selector pack as well. If you are living in a country where you can't exactly pay for packs within Arknights, you could actually use a site like this in order to buy yourself those packs. If you have never paid at all within Loot Bar and you've been wanting to do so, there is a special promotion that they're giving right now. So if you are trying to buy yourself a monthly card, use the code COOKIEHALF in order to buy the monthly card at half the price. Do take note that the redemption code is only available to the first 200 new paying users, and it will only last until Sunday. Thank you Loot Bar for supporting this video. You all can check out the affiliate link in the pinned comment or the description of my video. Back to it. Before I even go about telling you which are the best operators to buy that is going to be good for your money, some of you might be buying these tickets just to get the last missing operator that you have, or if let's say you only have 4 operators left that you do not have in your account, you might be eyeing on one of those 4. If that's the case, then whatever I'm going to say isn't that important to you because you're doing it for collection's sake. But I think the advice that I'm giving is more for people who are newer to the game or you're middle of the game and you have perhaps half the units, a quarter, a whole lot of them that's missing your account, and you really want to know which person is going to be the best for you to buy to enter your account. So how I'm just going to do this is I'm actually going to start off by crossing off operators that I really don't think people need to care about too much. Doesn't mean that they're bad to play, some of them could be fun, but I feel that it's not going to assist in too much of people's gameplay unless they want to enjoy it from a niche standpoint. So we're going to go a little bit more of that generalist route to see who are going to be the good units that people could be buying, okay? So let's just start with the crosses. So I don't think people are going to need Lee. Let's start from there. Okay, I don't think people are going to need Ebenholz. I'm not going to give explanations. We can do those explanations when we do operator showcases that I might upload onto my channel next time for them. Dorothy's going to be still fine. Poziomka, I don't think people will need Poziomka. And then, unfortunate for Penance, I also don't think Penance is that required. Lin has Premedic's Outer that comes in during this banner, so it's a little bit strange, but I'm not going to cross her out. You probably don't need Hoheya. You very likely also don't need Swire Outer in your account. I will feel a little bit sad and sorry, but I don't think I'd recommend people to get Viviana. I am not going to recommend Blaze Outer as well. Okay, so these are my big, quick, I don't think you really need to own them because they could be fun to play for some of you, but honestly speaking, if let's say you're trying to clear content as a casual where you only have 12 minutes to pick, or you're playing something like IS, these aren't the usual stuff that you will put into trying to actually defeat those higher difficult stages. Hoheya does have an IS module that's coming during this patch, but even then I also don't think you would that much need her. Okay? So these are the first ones that I'm going to strike away, but I think there are more. So I'm just going to change the color to a bit of a yellow in this case. So there's more that I'm going to cross out. Alright, the next ones that I'm going to go down in line where I really also don't think you would require them, but they're kind of stronger than the ones that I've already crossed are going to be Fear Meta. I don't really think you need to own a constant AoE person. It's good for AFK clears, but it's really not a must. Then I'm also going to say that Irene is probably not too required, really. Because there's Dragonbreaker also in the same pool, it's more likely that you'll pick Dragonbreaker over Irene after all. So that's kind of why. Stainless is probably someone that I also don't think people exactly need. I do think that he has insane utility in terms of giving you SP regen, helping out with your team. The turret mechanic is very fun to play, one of the most enjoyable, finicky thing to play with in the game, but not a must. Again, because there's Paramedic's Altar, and also sort of good 5-star Modocaster options, like for instance Beastwax if you really need a ranged defender. I do think Lin is nice to play, very good AoE damage, but I don't really think I would need people to pick it up, really. I'm also going to put forth that I think there's a bit of an oddity between Typhon, Jessica Alter, and Holdra. I'm pretty tempted to cross them out. I'm going to cross out Jessica Alter, because even though she has a very fun shield kit that helps her to change her direction of where she hits, and she does have a pretty high defense, but I do think she gets very gated when an enemy has high defense themselves in order to actually try to kill them, and she's single target. So I'm not that highly recommending on Jessica Alter. Typhon in recent times have also struggled quite a bit. If you are a newer player, I do think that Typhon is still someone that is nice to play, but a lot of people have swapped to perhaps other options in order to clear harder stuff rather than to rely on Typhon. I'm still not going to cross out yet, I think. A little bit of my mind says she could have some safety. I'm going to cross out Holdra, because I do think that Holdra being a very stationary unit, albeit he can deal quite high damage, but there is a lot of ground dealers that can kind of sort of play that role. So I don't really think you require a Holdra, or even then you can outrange your enemies. I would say you do not require Valpis Folia in your account, because Valpis Folia, while she has a very high damage as a Vanguard amongst all of the other Vanguards, but most of the time the importance of your Vanguard is to give good DP regen, which Valpis is decent, but really not a big necessity for you to play. That's what I'm going to put forth on this front. Okay, I am not going to cross out anyone else, which I know that some people in the chat, some people watching the video right now will be thinking, it's crazy you didn't cross out Vina Victoria, it's crazy you didn't cross out Horn, for instance. I do think that they have some niceness that could be added in the account. Okay, there's going to be... I'll cross out one more. I'm going to cross out Vina Victoria after all, because I think even though she's pretty good at true damage dealing, but you do have other options. You have Monster in play, you have Celtic in play, you also have people who doesn't need to do true damage, right? They just have inherently high arts and physical damage, so not a huge importance. And I'm also going to cross out Necrest. Even though there are Necrest levels out there, and her ability to summon all the monsters on the ground is pretty fun to see them in action, I do think that for newbies and mid-game player, it's really easy to not understand how to play Necrest well. And even if you do play her well, it's not all the time that she's like the biggest damage dealer per se. It's her best role in the game is understanding how to place a very good first summon that can actually play the role of lane holding. But when seeing my own gameplay and for a lot of other people's gameplay, I don't think they do that all too well. So I'm gonna give that a little bit of a cross. Okay, now let's change the color once again. So this time I'm just gonna change it to... Let's give some big green lights, shall we? Because the next ones maybe I don't really want to cross. Because the people who I've kind of left here, I do feel that one way or another, the leftover people can assist your account depending on what you feel like you lack. But I'm gonna give green and draw a circle on the people who I think are very clear-cut super powerhouse that you can get in your account, alright? So you can grab yourself a monster, right? One of the best medic buffer, high damage support that you can own. True damage is huge, and just good skill 2, good skill 3. Why wouldn't you want it? The summon being able to be placed anywhere makes it very flexible for you to use monster, so I think it's going to be great. Upianus is also going to be a beautiful option, because you can basically get someone that can fly across the stage, be able to provide one of the longest stun in the game, quite decent, 6 seconds, and then if you want him stationary, you can, as a lane holder on his skill 2, but his skill 3 is definitely the bread and butter. It's a very short cooldown time, 25 SP, so it's super worth your money in order to grab him. Logos is just going to be great. Like, if you feel that your account is lacking arts damage right now, and then you're thinking like, oh, should I get a Lin? Should I get a Re-Alter? And if you don't have a Logos, most people will just be telling you, no, you need to grab Logos, because Logos just helps you in order to dish the damage that you want. So go for him first before the other arts damage dealers options. Escalon is also going to be an awesome pickup. Also on the arts damage category, and also on the physical category, right? One of the highest DOT damage that you can get in the game, gigantic movement speed down that you get to enjoy when enemies are within her range. No issues. There is no way you'll regret owning an Escalon in your account. So an absolute green light of a unit, right? Innes does have a little bit of competition because Silver Ash Altar is out, but it doesn't mean that you cannot use both of them in the same stage. Still wonderful utility with the Shadow deployment giving that movement speed down. Her ability to bind enemies without a skill on is just on her talent. I think that's just pure amazing. Very cheap to use, decent damage. You would definitely prefer to run an Innes versus a Valpis in a stage. So I think it's just going to be a pretty worthy pickup for you to get Innes in your account. And then I think when I look across the board on the remainder of people, I'm not going to give the rest like a green light, I think, because I think these 5 are the clear-cut, like, extremely good options for you to be picking up in your account. Well, I did do a top 12 operators of AK last year, and it just so happens that I'm picking the people who are in the top 12. Okay, now let me use this time to draw circles for what I want to call a sleeper pick, shall we? Sleeper in the sense that, in my eyes, I think they are really good to learn to play in your account, and there probably also won't be regrets if you choose these people to enter your account. So a very clear-cut one that I'm going to put forth, which everyone's going to scream at me for being biased, is going to be Narantuya, so I'm drawing it with this like purple circle. Because it's very high damage that Narantia dishes physical-wise, doesn't really get impacted by ASPD stuff, have good skill 1, 2, and 3, and has the ability to have a bit of the AoE damage that you can pick up on. So I think Narantia is also going to be an awesome pick. I do think that some people will be surprised that I'm recommending this unit, but I actually do find that Entelekia is a pretty nice person to own in one's account. Skill 3 is pretty helpful at dealing with enemies that inherently have very high HP, but you want to be able to pierce through that high defense and resistance as well from the candle. Entelekia also has a very high DOT timer, similar to Escalon, and skill 2 of Entelekia is really creative to play with. Like, if you have a weak account, you're a new player, and you saw Entelekia kit, you're wondering if it's worthwhile, I think it's genuinely fun to try to learn and play with her. So I'm gonna put forth that, yeah, I do think that you can run Enter. Next person that I would want to highlight that is fun to play, I would want to give it to Ray. So I think Ray is still one of the best single target damage dealers against an elite enemy and a boss. The bind is really nice. Her range can expand because of the summon that she has, even outside of her skill activated range, which is pretty sweet to use. Giving her, if enemies do struggle against Ray's damage, just a slight buff for Ray already solves it quite a bit. So I think it's very, very fun to use the Hunter archetype, and you can definitely go about to run it. Now, if you want to try to learn certain units that once you get past the barrier of understanding how to play them can make them look really good, I think the 2 people that I'm going to name are going to be Dragonbreaker and Solar. So Dragonbreaker has the Frighten, which not a lot of people in the current game has, and Frighten is really good because just like how Tragoda's Paralysis stops enemy from attacking, Frighten also stops enemy from attacking. So in Dragonbreaker's case, I believe it's when she first hits the enemy that they get the Frighten, either that or when she blocks the enemy. Her ability to kind of like drag the enemies all within into her own tower is also really cool to see. Very, very high damage that comes together with it. So I do think that it's wonderful to pick up on Dragon. Zola is really good if you need a lane holder within your account. If you are not using just the traditional Mountain or say Blaze and you want someone that doesn't need a medic and can self-function, his skill 3 is really nice to use, a very big slash forward. Or you can use his skill 2 where it just keeps like giving him a good shield to sustain himself within the stage. So those are good options. The other person that I would potentially give it Well, here's what I'm going to put for the remainder of the units over here. I don't think I'm going to draw a circle of any sort for them. I do think that they all have their own little assistance that makes them really good. Like for example, if you're using Golden Glow, it's really nice to pair her together with Lapland to do a big drone caster, full global range, tear down the map kind of gameplay, but it's not a huge must. I think this depends on like how you want to play the game. That makes Golden Glow a pretty okay choice, you know, for you to go for. Horn depends on the fact of, do you like the fact that you can shoot far from your enemy? Maybe because the enemies are stationed further away in certain IS stages, RA stages, or even normal stages. That way you can kind of make it work well. Dorothy is pretty fun, and I would have given her this purple circle, but the reason why I didn't is Wang exists, so a lot of people will be potentially switching their gameplay from Dorothy to Wang. But if you want to learn Dorothy, it's going to be very worthwhile with the bind, with the plus sign mines that she has. Moina is still pretty good as the giant golden slash that you can use in the stage. It's just people tend to not think about using him nowadays, since when his skill is deactivated, he doesn't really do anything except to take damage. So kind of why I don't give him that circle. As I said for Typhon, not a lot of people turn to Typhon nowadays when solving stages, but it's still fun to play with her stun. Her skill tree can be interesting for you to use. Executor, I do think that he's sort of helpful to deal with certain stages if you like the Reaper gameplay and you want that true damage, the true AoE, I mean. Enteleka gives that, Executor gives that. I do think that a good Executor player can help make him dish a lot of damage in the stage, but that depends on whether you want to learn that or not. Qiubai is always great because of the bind that she has and her synergy with slow stuff, which makes it such that if you're playing a team very concentrated on crowd control, it helps. Integrated strategy is very good for Qiubai because a lot of artifacts assist her, so you might turn towards her. Redoubter is cool to look at visually since she has the ability to just fireball everybody in a stage, but I don't find it as strong as the ones that I've given a purple and green circle to, nowadays at least. So that's kind of why, and annoyingly she only heals if she's hitting enemies. Taunts I think is very, very fun to use, although some people might say it's very boring when I say that the only good skill for Taunts is his skill 2, but the healing and the big DOT damage as well, just how big that circle can become on that skill 2, I think it's amazing to use Taunts, but I do see of it as a more acquired taste. It's definitely not a cross, simply because if you've actually tested it yourself, you'll realize it's really nice to use it. Skill 3, however, is a headache, so that's kind of probably why I don't want to give him a circle. And Nymph is special in the sense that she has the ability to have fear, which is something Lapland Outer do, but this one is more controlled. You can send the enemy flying far back once you have instilled the fear in them. So that's kind of the reasons why I picked towards this. So the way that I see is go for greens first, followed by the purples, followed by the ones I didn't circle, followed by the yellow crosses, and then the red crosses. Okay? If you want to ignore my opinion because you already have someone that you want to pick, disregarding how good they can be in the eyes of the community, go for it. Follow your heart, not about what people tell you to pull, okay? But we're not done yet. We have the Kernel Headhunting pack. Let's see that one. Okay, I've been told by my viewers who's watching me right now on stream that the purple is a little bit hard to see, so we will help to choose a different color later for better differentiation. But let's get to this. I think it's going to be faster for me to do some crosses onto our screen here, okay? So let's start with the ones that I'm going to say no to. Do not get Siege, alright? Do not get Hoshiguma. I'm sorry for Angelina, but I'm just gonna say don't get Angelina because I don't think I don't think a lot of people are very good at using operators where they don't do anything with skill deactivated. So yeah, I just say no to Gilberta, by the way, by saying that. So oops. Do not get Shen. I'm gonna say no to Schwartz. I'm gonna say no to Programishnik. I'm gonna say no to Magalan. No to Ark. I'm gonna say no to Eunectus. I'm gonna cross Shining out as well. Sorry, Shining. I am going to cross out Saga. I'm gonna cross Carnelian. No to Palas. No to Fartooth. No to Flametail. A lot quicker. Do I have to explain why I gave crosses to these people? I think if you ask the AK community now, and you try to find the number of people who's actually using these characters, it's really, really few. It's super acquired taste to find anybody playing these units. It's usually just because maybe a stage has a certain mechanic that makes people go, oh wait, hold on, maybe I'll pick up Hoshiguma, maybe I'll pick up Shining, but it's gonna be like a singular instance. And even then, there are just way too many alternatives, whether a 6 or 5 star, that people will turn to in order to fulfill the same role. So that's kind of why I don't think you need any of the current people that I've crossed. But there's actually even more people I had to give crosses to, because these are more so my hard no's, right? I probably still have the softer no's of people that I don't think you need to pick up. So I'm just going to go from the bottom and up, and I don't think people will be picking up Select. I don't think people will be picking up Mizuki. Unfortunately, I'm saying no to Blemishine. I would say no to Weedy. I'm going to say no to... Especially, I can't say no to Phantom. I'll tell you why later. Bagpipe is fine. Kyuubi is fine. Ostima is fine. Skadi is fine. Sylvash is fine. Saria's okay. Nightingale's okay. Aya, Ifrit, and X here. I am going to leave it. I think those yellows are the only ones that I'm going to add in. So they do have really good stuff going on for them. Like Weedy can be someone that helps with the pushing requirements that a certain stage has. Select can help to have a bit of that fragile, the slowdown debuff, but it's really not necessary. Mizuki also has decent IS module that you can be playing with. Actually, yeah, I guess the IS module makes it a little bit strange for Mizuki, because it is a really fun module, not gonna lie. The whole pulling the enemies in thing. So I'm gonna keep him there. Actually, I'm not gonna give him the yellow cross. It's been changed. And then I'm going to cross out Blemishine, because even though Blemishine has a cool niche that is sleep and has high healing capabilities, I don't think you really require it that much in the game. So these are my crosses of people that I don't really recommend. Unlike the previous poster that we just did, where I say that, you know, if you are missing these red cross, yellow cross characters, but you actually want them, you can ignore me and pull them. This one I might even say, even if you have the money and the people in the crosses are the only ones you're missing, I kind of don't even think you need to pull them. Like, I don't think you need to spend your money on them. I very much rather that you somehow let them magically pop up in recruitment as a top operator, or when they do like selector ticket gifts as an anniversary gift next time. Then you pick the units that you are missing. Like, I genuinely don't think it's worth your money to spend for any of the ones that's crossed. Okay? So try not to. Unless you want to defy me, go ahead and do so. Comment down below if you're one of those people. Okay, now let's look at the ones that I'm going to give a green light for. So, the ones that I'm going to say are pretty good for you to pick. It's obviously Celtic. Celtic is a very strong person for a newbie player, middle of the game player to pick up. It's very good AoE damage on her skill 2. Super low SP cost. Good enough true damage on the skill tree as well. The summon being able to be deployed anywhere is also really cool to be able to use. So, I'm going to say that Celtic is just sweet. The only downside is that you have to deal with the 2 deployment cost, right? When placing Celtic and Monster down at the same time. So deal with that, I suppose. Next good pickup that I'm going to say is Kyuubi. Kyuubi is the best aged unit in this game. Kyuubi, when first released, was described as a unit that wasn't very strong. A lot of people didn't know how to use her at that point. And it's simply because we had enemies weak to arts damage, but we don't have them with insanely high defense. But nowadays, with all the stats of enemies so much better improved, it helps with Kyuubi's talent. So I think Kyuubi is just awesome in order to use in your own gameplay right now. You can definitely enjoy it. Another good pickup that I'm going to go for, I think, are there any more green lights that I'm going to say here? Maybe not, actually. I think I have a lot of the ones that I'll give purple for instead. So I'm going to switch color immediately. So we're not going to use purple since you guys pointed out that purple was a little bit difficult to look at. Oh, it doesn't help that I'm going to use blue because the map looks blue. So let's try this shade. Okay, I think this shade should work out well. I'm going to go for... Ooh, that looks quite purpley, does it? No? No? Go for orange. Alright guys, I hope your eyes can bear with it. We're going with an orange circle. So I'm giving an orange circle to Surtur, because I think her ignore resistance is still great. The ability to deploy her down the stage and let her do all the smashing, kill as many enemies at once within her range is pretty good to use. Just be comfortable with the fact that she will not be doing anything for 60 seconds of the map. because she's in retreated mode. So we'll take that. I'd say Silver Ash is still pretty okay because of the fact that the Silver Slash that he has on skill tree is still pretty decent to use, especially with module, since it now comes with a little bit of arts damage, and it's still invisibility reveal, which helps. Of course, Silver Ash Alter does have kind of all those things going on, but I think it's nice enough to have it in the form of a guard, so I'm gonna give it towards that. Aya Fiela is actually pretty nice still in today's time, because at the very least she's helping to buff the caster's attack when she's on the team, and her Volcano ability is still good at trying to get rid of a lot of enemies at once. Skill 2 is a pretty comfortable AFK skill for you to use. You don't tend to use her as a solo caster all that much anymore. You tend to pair her with other casters to make it viable in order to play within the stage. I think another person that perhaps will be pretty sweet for you to pick up is probably... Hold on, I changed my mind. I think I'm not giving Silver Ash the orange circle treatment, and I think this is what I'll leave it as. Because I think all the other units have reasons that they're not bad enough to be picked, but also not good enough to be picked at the same time. So I'll kind of just run it through as to why I didn't cross or circle them. So Exia is still a pretty good anti-air damage dealer that you can have. Problem is the damage can feel low at times. The module does rescue her a little bit. When you need someone that can barrage multiple shots at a time, you still turn towards Exia, depending on the event mechanic that you're dealing with. So I think it's kind of okay. Ifrit's biggest limitation is definitely her range, the blast caster range being a straight line. You need maps that helps you to utilize that. But if you do use it well, the resistance down is so good. The true AoE damage that she can apply is also so good. But it's not so limiting to the point where it's bad to pick her up. Like, there are definitely stages that you appreciate the fact that Ifrit is in play. Nightingale is an amazing resistance up medic, but I think the trouble with Nightingale is a little bit of there are so many choices of medics now. You have Monster that you can be using, you have Aya Alter that you can turn to, and you even have some really good options. Like, there's nothing wrong with using a Telopsis or a Rose Salt in your medic team. So the only time that you really want to get Nightingale in play is to dodge up against certain arts damage. But it's not rare, it's more so like seldom, frequently that you see that happening. But yeah, it's not a big need that you need to have Nightingale within that stage. Saria also, I think, is a really good healing defender to save you in certain situations. A lot of people like to argue that Shu is better than Saria, that kind of thing, but for one, Shu is a limited unit. You can only pull her during the CNY banner, and I do think that Saria is still pretty comfortable with both that skill 1 and 2. And if you're trying to build an art-centric team, 3 is pretty okay. Silver Ash, as I mentioned just now, I think he's still pretty good, but I guess I don't see him that good enough to the point that I would give him a circle. Skadi does not get crossed out because I think Skadi also kind of aged better with, one, the Abyssal Hunter crew making it very viable for you to use her in the team. And then, even if you're not running Abyssal Hunter, the fast redeploy nature of Skadi is pretty helpful. I mean, now that we're talking in a time where Silver Ash Alter is a thing, you might consider adding Skadi into your team in order to make sure that it's dealing very, very high damage. But the fast redeploy is still good. The skill tree having high HP, just to hold on to one enemy, still great. Mostima is someone that I personally really enjoy because I think her module is sweet. The ability to cast global slowdown, movement speed down, and then the ability to increase the SP regen of casters is also really nice to pair. Like, my favorite thing to do with Mostima is to put her with Lapland Outer and Golden Glow. So I'm gonna put forth that Mostima is pretty okay. Blaze is okay if you need that AFK-ness in your team, and like you still want that AoE Centurion to perhaps even cut across a few lanes. Nothing wrong with trying to main Blaze in today's time still. Just don't expect her to be used when you are playing stages that needs you to be very active. Bagpipe, I mean, we heard of Flagpipe, right? Still very good to just get her to be that 12th unit to help make sure that your Vanguards have their skills up as soon as possible. So nothing wrong with that. Phantom, I would have nearly crossed because there are so much fast deploys in the game that are pretty okay to use. Like, even Crown Slayer is okay to use right now. And then there's Texas Outer and Kirin Yato. But the thing is, those two are limited units. You have one that's super limited. So that's kind of the reason why I don't think Phantom does that well. But it's also a nice thing that Phantom has the IS module, which is actually kind of fun to play. So that's kind of why I don't want to give him the cross treatment. I think he's decent enough for you to enjoy. Rosa, I think, is very underrated. People out there think that Rosa is very weak, but I do think her damage ceiling can be quite high at times. The utility that she provides is also really good. So I genuinely don't see anything wrong if someone is interested in Rosa and then wanted to play her. There is a little bit of a learning curve, I suppose, to make her look good. But even when you've passed that hill and you're hoping that Rosa can be way more amazing than other people, I don't think it'll be to that extent. I just think she'll be decent enough for you to appreciate being on the team. So there's that. Suzerain, I nearly wanted to give a circle. But I do think that the current nature of the game is we have a lot of people who are good at giving support for the team. With the likes of Arturia, with the likes of Tragodia, and tons of other people who are DPS support type nature. Of course, Suzerain's skill is extremely unique because she has one of the biggest slowdown on her skill tree that you can enjoy. But I don't think it's all that much necessary to have that slowdown and fragile in play, just because, again, too many alternatives that you'll get to enjoy. So it's okay to pick her, just not a circle. Taunts, you've seen a lot of taunts in AFK gameplay. Also, he's hot. He's like the only operator that I'm going to tell you he's hot. Why wouldn't you pull for him? Obviously, right? So it's worth it. Mudrock, good against Sarkaz stages, where if you need someone to block the damage of Sarkaz, the damage reduction is so high. Still fun to watch her spin around with that skill 2. Skill 3 needs you to learn how to actually make the best use of it. Slight learning curve, but overall still a fun unit. Mountain, the reason why I didn't want to give him a circle is even though he's got a bit of the AFK nature in the game, I do think that the tendency right now is we don't necessarily always need, like, one, there are other lane blockers that are possible, right? Like, you can be using a Upenius, you can be using a Zola, there's a lot of other people. Of course, the good thing for Mountain is that he's cheap, but you tend to counteract that by having Vanguards, like Innes, and soon to be Silver Ash Altar, and Valpis, and so many other people. So that's kind of why I don't think Mountain is that necessary, per se. Good, just not someone that I need to highly propose that people must pick up. Alright? Aketo would have been a cross, but she does probably have one of the best IS modules that you can enjoy in the game. If you have an event that is very heavy on aerial enemies, with the likes of Masses Travel, for example, I guess that's why you consider someone like Aketo. But outside of that, hey, use her in IS. It's one of the most fun units. If you don't like IS, then obviously Aketo will look like a cross, because she doesn't really help with the normal gameplay. Alright? Passenger is a little bit comfy with the slow chain that he's able to do. If you're playing anything that is not casual content, Passenger tends to always be very good in non-casual content. So RA, IS, some other game modes like Stronghold Protocol, there are always things that helps to beef specifically him. Even in normal content, I'll say it's fine to use him as, again, just a regular chain caster to kind of slow the people down. So that's kind of why I didn't cross him. Mizuki also nearly became a cross. He does have a good AFK skill 1, if you like that kind of gameplay. Skill 2 is nice to provide a little bit of bind to hold the enemies in place. Otherwise, the reason why I kept him here is his IS mod as well. A little bit trickier to learn compared to certain other IS mod, but very fun once you understand how to use him well, because of the fact that he can pull enemies into his range. And Gnosis also just got his IS mod. It's also really good and powerful with an IS mod. Even in normal content, freeze is nice to use, especially if the enemies are not immune to freeze. So the whole thing where he can just hold enemies with the use of his skill 3, or just for the moment on skill 1 and 2, freeze them at once. Nothing wrong with that, I would say. So that's kind of why I've put the chart like this. So I'm just going to repeat once again. Green circles are really good to pick. Orange circles are the next best. For all those that I didn't cross, I'll still say they're fine for you to spend money and pick them up and to see how they support your team. The ones I give crosses, don't buy. I'm giving you financial advice. Don't buy. I don't know why you'll buy them. You will probably regret it a week or a month in, unless you seriously love them. Like you love Progranistic or Gilberta, go ahead. So, anyways, that's all that I'll say to this video. I do this every 6 months for people to enjoy. I hope it was a good watch and you guys get to learn a little bit more about my opinions to the units, okay? See you guys. Let me know what you purchased down in the comments. Bye-bye.